Hey everybody, hope you guys are all doing okay. Welcome back to our Might and Magic 7 completionist run, and welcome to a special episode. Why is this episode special? A couple of reasons. Number one, in all likelihood, this is going to be our second last episode in this series. I don't think there's too much left to do other than the finale, which is going to be the next episode, and of course what we're going to be doing in this episode. And I don't know why I'm being so vague about it, because you already know from the title, so it's not like I'm trying to keep a secret. We're going to be doing the Obelisks. Now, similarly to how I did it in Might and Magic 6, I am going to do it all in one go. Meaning, we're gonna get all of the obelisks, we're gonna visit all the areas that have obelisks in them, pick up, the obelisk messages. That'll be part 1 of the video. Part 2 is then we will solve the Obelisk Puzzle. We'll actually go outside of the game, and we're just gonna solve the puzzle as a puzzle. And then part 3 is we will bring our puzzle solution back into the game, and then actually, I was gonna say complete this quest, except it's not really a quest. It's an extra little, not little, it's pretty big. It's an extra thing to do in the game, but I don't think it actually gets listed in your quest log. But yes, part 3 will be us coming back and then wrapping the obelisk saga up. Alright, so we're gonna start out by getting the obelisks. There are 14 of them. I've got on my phone here a list of all of the obelisks and their locations, and the first one, it just so happens, I'm pretty sure is the one in Harmondale. Let me confirm that. Yes, indeed. The first one is in the northeast of Harmondale. But before we go there, there is one thing I should make a note of, is that I already picked up one of the obelisks. That is the obelisk from the pit. So I will be going back there to the pit to show where that obelisk is. And while we're in the pit, I'll also explain why I picked it up. It wasn't that I did it by accident. There was a reason why I was giving myself the option of maybe not having to go back to the pit. But you know what, it'll make more sense once we get there, but for now, let's pretend that that one isn't there. Let's pretend we're starting with a clean slate. Let's pretend we have no obelisk notes at all. So let's find the first one. It's over here, and typically on the map, on outdoor maps anyway, this is what the obelisks will look like. There are I think there are a couple of obelisks that are inside what the game map renders as an indoor environment, so those will look different. But if you're outdoors, this is roughly what the obelisks will look like. So if you're having trouble finding them, look for something that is shaped like this on the map. And as far as I can tell, there's no, I think in Might and Magic 6 there was a specific little thing that you had to click on to interact with. For these, I think you can just click anywhere on the obelisk and you'll get the message. And that message popped up briefly. This is obelisk number 1, Pohumba. Yes, and I am gonna attempt to pronounce all of them, even though it's pure gibberish at this point, but I think that just makes it even more hilarious. So that was obelisk number 1, Pohuba. Alright. Obelisk number 2 is in Irathia. So let's go straight there. Irathia, and it's in this weird section of the map. So let's fly there and see Well, first of all, let's see if we can use what we learned from the first obelisk to reason where it might be. I mean, there aren't that many things in this part of the map, so it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. This looks like it's a bit small, this doesn't look like it's the right shape, so this looks like it's probably the obelisk. I have played this game before, but I don't have it memorized as well as the other two games in the series, MM6 and MM8. So a lot of it I am genuinely deducing on the spot, and were we correct? Indeed we were. Here we have found obelisk number 2. Click on it to get its message. Ininhil. So there we go. We picked up obelisk number 2. Ininhil. And now let's remind ourselves where obelisk number 3 is. That one is in the Tularian Forest. It's in the Tularian Forest. These griffins are getting quite frisky, so... wrong person. These griffins are getting a bit annoying, so let's just go here without much delay. Now, this one, I'm being told, is to the north. To the north of the city. Let's see if we can find it. I don't see anything obvious on the map. Unless it's blending in somehow, or unless it's very close to the city. Like, if it's one of these things, which it isn't. So, we may have to do a bit of work to find this one. I did consider actually doing a dry run, finding all the obelisks myself, and then showing them to you, but I wanted to do it this way, because I do think it's also important to get a sense of how easy it is for you to just find, because is that it? No, that's the entrance to something else. I do have another walkthrough which has more detailed instructions about where in each city these obelisks are. Let's go back towards the city. I'm also mindful of how much time is passing. I don't necessarily want it to take too long. If it... is it... So... the guide I'm reading says it's just north of the city in a crater... Oh! It was here the whole time. I thought this thing was a bit too big to be an obelisk, but I guess it's not just an obelisk. The map was showing us the obelisk and this weird thing that was its base as well. I thought this was like a temple or something from its size, but no, the obelisk is literally it almost looks like it's part of the city if you look at it on a map, but no, this right here is obelisk number 3, Reddit O. This is probably my favorite one. Obelisk number 3, Reddit O. You heard it here first. This game from the late 90s successfully predicted Reddit. Alright. Now that took a bit longer than it should. But hopefully seeing me make all of these mistakes and then find it will help it stick out even more. Well, like, it'll help the memory. It'll help you remember, like, because you'll remember how much of a bad time I had flying in this empty space. And you know what? Explaining it very poorly, and I'm just gonna give up. You get what I mean. You'll understand not to do the same thing I did, and you'll know that it's right next to the city. Alright, that's enough about that. Let's do obelisk number 5, which is in the Bracada Desert. Now, the Bracada Desert is the first of the areas that we have to go to, because there's an obelisk in it, but which doesn't directly have a place that you can town portal to.
Let's go.
But what you can do to get to Bracada is you can town portal to Celeste, because once you've entered it, it becomes a town portal destination. And then after town portaling to Celeste, just fall down. Just make sure you either have flight active and, you know, you can start flying as soon as you've dropped down, or that you've got Featherfall active. As it turns out, we had both flight and Featherfall, so we were safe, but just keep that in mind, because if you fall all the way down to the ground and you don't have Featherfall, you will get killed. Now, this obelisk, we've seen quite a few times while we were flying around in Bracada. Earlier on in the series, it's pretty much in the center of the map. So let's fly by. Oh, I was trying to be really cool. I was trying to yoink the obelisk in a flyby, but I guess I'm not quite as nimble as I thought it was going to be. Oh no, we did it. We did it out of order. Oh no, this is obelisk number 5. Well, I guess we did obelisk number 5. You know what? Let's just roll with it. This is obelisk number 5, but before I read it out, let's pick up obelisk number 4, which is in Deja. And where was Deja? I think to get to Deja, we need to go to the Tellurian Forest and go west. Is that how? Alternatively, we could go to the pit, and we could walk all the way out, but then we would have to walk through the hall of the pit. It would be a whole ordeal. Are we? Can we not? Yeah, I was gonna say, can we not make the transition? But the map geometry was just a bit weird. The downside to all this is that because we had to make this transition by foot, we've lost all of our buffs. Also, I need to learn to actually read the numbers on my list, because evidently I can't eyeball it quite as well as I thought. I was sure that was the 4th one, but no, it really was the 5th one that we picked up earlier. And let's just cast our buffs quickly. This, I guess, for the Wizard Eye, and then we'll cast the rest of them. You know, while we're here, may as well just pick up some horseshoes for the heck of it. And then there's another one here, and there's one more, like, around the back, I guess. And now let's remind ourselves where in Deja this obelisk is. Come on. Come on, it is in, like, the central area of the map. Like, this might be it, or that might be it, actually. But how do we get there? I was gonna say there are mountains in our way, but I wasn't facing the right way. It looks like it's mostly flat terrain that we can fly over. There's also mist, which is making it hard to see. And I think we're getting close to our destination. Is this the obelisk? Yes, it is. So let's ignore these zombies and let us take obelisk number 4. Number 4, Ait Koa. Ait Koa. And now let us also read obelisk number 5, which we picked up prematurely from the center of Prakada. Tss Remu. Very interesting collection of messages we've been getting from these obelisks. Let's also cast, I don't know, our remaining buffs while we are deciding where to go next. And next, of course, we've got to go to Celeste for obelisk number 6. I think I know where this one is. This is another interesting map because this one is considered an indoor environment. You can tell excuse me, you can tell because of the way the game draws both the map and the mini-map. Indoor environments will always be given this blue, like this dark background, and everything will have these white walls. Yes, the obelisk is right here. It looks like, well, when you're zoomed out, it just looks like a black square. When you're zoomed in, you see a bit more texture to it. But yes, if we go close to it and we touch it, we get the note. Ute in. Obelisk number 6 is Ute in. And we've already picked up obelisk number 7. But when we go to the pit, which is where this obelisk actually is, we will, I will explain to you why things are that way. So let's go before we do that, let me show you that I actually have a beacon right next to the obelisk. I put this beacon there to give me the option of skipping the pit and going straight there. But if you're playing the game yourself, and if you didn't have the foresight of setting a beacon there, although like you wouldn't set a beacon there, you just grab the obelisk and run. So I'm not actually going to use my beacon. I'm going to go directly to the pit, which is a town portal destination. Go in, and you see we have people attacking us. This here is the reason why I very nearly...
It doesn't even hurt.
I very nearly decided not to do this one in this walkthrough, or at least not show it, and instead I would have done something lame, like I would have just told you where it is. But no, I'm gonna do it the proper way. I will actually walk to the obelisk after town portaling, and then we're gonna go and pick it up. And while I'm casting regeneration, which I like because it's a good way of getting your health back without having to do any micromanaging of healing spells, I'll explain why I don't like this place so much. It's because it's full of enemies that do way more damage than they should. Oh no. Oh god. Oh, I messed it up. Okay, I'm gonna have to kill this enemy. Okay, get lost. Okay, now that we're safe, what I was gonna say was what I would recommend you do is you could fight all these enemies if you want. If that's what you want, you could fight all the enemies in the center. You won't have a good time because the queens of the dead, the speakers for the dead or of the dead, you know, those female necromancer type enemies, they've got really annoying spells that do a lot of damage, more damage than they should, to multiple party members. And even at this high level, I don't want to deal with them. there is an alternative. The alternative is, as long as you can find at least some place on the map where where the danger indicator is green, meaning there's nobody near you, you can cast this awesome spell, Invisibility. And once you're invisible, nobody will attack you unless you bump into an enemy. Now, if you bump into an enemy, or even if you bump into a like friendly unit, like this scout here is not hostile to us, we bump into him, we lose our invisibility. So don't do that. Keep your invisibility active by steering clear of your enemies. And I wandered out there just to show you how invisibility works, to help you, but you really didn't have to go all the way out there. All you had to do was, you know, we came into this tunnel from here, which put us there. Just turn straight back around. It'll teleport you again. Yes, I know it's a weird, convoluted system, but that's just how this zone is. It's not my favorite, but after going through this tunnel, it puts you here. You turn around, turn right back around, go towards the tunnel exit again. Now that'll teleport you here. And now here is where the obelisk is. It's in, I believe, this part of the map. So we're gonna go, and we're about to go into an area where it is possible to fall down. Like, there are these bridges. You don't want to be falling down there. You want to stay up above on these main paths. You want to come here. And now it's okay to fall down, because I guess you can go through here as well, but you know, you don't really want to deal with lava if you can avoid it. Now we come to what would have given us obelisk note number 7, but because I already picked it up, the game isn't giving us that, you know, first time pickup indication, but instead we're just gonna read it from our old notes. Obelisk number 7, Sroofed Nut. That's right, that was obelisk message number 7, Sroofed Nut. Alright, we're halfway through. 7 down, 7 to go. Still invisible. Let's look up obelisk number 8. It is in the Even Morn Islands, which is pretty far away. Do I have a beacon in the Even Morn Islands? I don't. Okay, that's fine. It's okay. We'll just go to Erathia, which is one of the places where you can get to the Even Morn Islands where you can get to the Even Morn Islands by boat. Unfortunately, this is gonna mean I'm gonna lose all my buffs again, but you know what? We'll get them back. It's not a problem. We need to rest until Sunday, and
Come in. Enjoy your stay. Come in.
I'll rest at the inn, just so I don't have to waste food. So now it's Saturday,
Come in.
resting one more day puts us at Sunday. So let's go to our boat.
Welcome aboard.
And
Raise the anchor and set sail.
let's take the boat. Alright, and while we're here, you know what, let's... As you can see, we're shooting pretty fast even without haste. Actually, I guess we do have haste. No, we don't. Those are just our protection spells. Yeah, we're shooting pretty fast even without haste, but that's straying a bit from the topic of this video. So let's cast our spells, and I think the obelisk is here. So let's fly towards that. And while we're flying towards that, I will get the rest of my buffs. Because I do like having haste. Because as fast as we were firing earlier, it wasn't fast enough. This is the speed that I'm used to. Alright, now... I guess I was incorrect. The obelisk wasn't there, nor... Is it here? Oh no, it's here. So let's stand here and clear some of these enemies. Just so that they don't bother us when we fly in close. There's one enemy, a few enemies left, we don't really care. We're just gonna take the obelisk and go. The obelisk, I was about to read it, but it vanished before I could see it. Obelisk message number 8, Velgp. Obelisk message number 8, Velgp. Alright, one other thing that I'm gonna do is kill a few more of these shades. Ooh, that guy's dodging like a pro. Alright, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna... Just because this is one of the places you can't town portal to, and because I no longer need this as a beacon, the only reason I was keeping it was for this video, and this video, its purpose has now gone without me ever having used it, so I'm going to overwrite this, and I'm going to set a beacon here. Alright. So that was obelisk number 8, and now we've got to move on to obelisk number 9, which is in Nyon. Which is in Nyon, I believe, in the northwest. Nyon is down here, and the northwest, so somewhere in this section, possibly this or that or that. One of those might be the obelisk. Let's see how easy it is to find. Let's avoid any projectiles that we can. We cast a couple more buffs. Hopefully we don't have to make any overland transitions, because I wouldn't want to lose my buffs for a third time. And that would be annoying to deal with. Alright. The map is getting very mountainous, and there is a maximum height to how high you can fly, and we are actually at that height right now. But thankfully, we don't need to be that high to
It doesn't even hurt.
to pick up the obelisk. So we've picked it up, and let me start casting some other buffs, but while we're casting that, let's look at obelisk note number 9. I may have misspoken and called it by the wrong number earlier, but this is obelisk number 9. Feud. Obelisk message number 9. Feud. Oh wait, is that an I or an L? Think it's an I. If you lean in and squint, you can kind of see the dot. So, I believe that one is Feud. Again, very, very interesting message. A lot to think about, you know? These messages very deep and philosophical. I am, of course, being completely sarcastic. These messages are, for all intents and purposes, utter gibberish. But we'll see what we can do with them once we have all of them. So we picked up number 9. Now let's go after number 10, which is in the Barrow Downs. It's in the Barrow Downs in the southeast, evidently. So I do have a beacon already set in the Barrow Downs. Without this beacon, I would have had to make an overland transition, which would have killed my buffs, but you can get to the Barrow Downs easily from Harmondale. I believe you go east from Harmondale. I don't remember which direction exactly. You know what? Let me look this up, because it's kind of a useful detail that people might want to know. I'll have to pull up a different walkthrough. Just give me a moment, but I think you'll agree that that's kind of a useful detail. I'm not going to make the transition myself because I don't want to lose my buffs, but I will tell you that if you are in Harmondale, if you go south, so south from Harmondale will take you to the Barrow Downs, and Harmondale is a town portal destination. That's Castle Harmondale, which is like, it'll put you inside the castle, so you leave the castle and you're in the Harmondale map, and then you go south and you're in the Barrow Downs, and in the Barrow Downs you'll find obelisk number 10. If obelisk message number 10. Ivg Un. Another good one. Definitely in the top 10 so far. The next one is gonna be in the land of the giants. It is in the land of the giants. A very dangerous area. You can go there in two different ways. I've set a beacon there, but let's pretend I hadn't set this beacon. What if I had to go there the normal way? Once again, I would have to go to Harmondale, and first of all, you leave the castle. And the reason I'm doing it this way rather than simply using my beacon is because I can do this without it counting as an overland transition. Like, it'll just be an instant teleportation. But there's a second reason I'm doing it this way, and I will explain that as we get a bit closer to where the portal is. The portal is right here on the map, so just south from where we are. The reason is because if I used Lloyd's beacon, so let's say if I had invisibility active, and I'm gonna wait for her to recover, and then I'm gonna save my game. Now I'm gonna save my game. Yeah, I'll save it in this slot. So if I had if I had invisibility active and then I cast Lloyd's beacon, you'll see it voided invisibility, and then if I go to the land of the giants, I won't have invisibility on, so they'll be bothering me. I'll have to fly to a secluded spot of the map, or I'll have to fight, or I'll just have to be content with taking random shots from high-level enemies. But with invisibility active, there's a different thing that I can do. I can click on this. That'll also do the map transition. You can see we are right now very close to a bunch of titans and a bunch of dragons. Very close. But they're not attacking us because we are invisible. Of course, remember, don't accidentally bump into anything, because that will also kill your invisibility. But you can easily, you know, make the issue moot by simply flying. And if you're high enough, then nobody else will come close to you unless they were already chasing you. But so if you're invisible, nobody else will ever come close enough for them bumping into you to ever be a threat. But yes, we flew here. This one was kind of hard to spot on the map because it basically, even zoomed in, it basically just looks like part of the terrain. But this was obelisk number 11? Number 10? Number 11. VII. Obelisk message number 11. VII. Right, let's make sure we're far away, because we are gonna have to cast a spell to leave. And we're gonna have to go to Tatalia to find Obelisk number 12. Now, the reason why I said you gotta make sure you're safe, because even though you have invisibility, the moment you cast a spell... So, see, I cast Town Portal, it killed my invisibility, but I haven't actually portaled yet. So what can happen... In fact, let me... you know what, let me... I guess this is becoming an impromptu tutorial on other game mechanics, but I do think this is still important stuff for you to know if you're going to be obelisk hunting, especially if you're not coming here with a super OP party like I have. Is that... So I'm standing... Let's say I was standing here when I decided to... a town portal. If I cast my town portal, even though like the spell has been cast, like it killed my invisibility before I could pick a destination. You can see my guys are being shot. And now I've got really high regeneration, I've got really high resistances. I'm able to deal, although I don't have protection from magic, so they're killing my guys. So just keep that in mind. That if you are planning to flee, it's not enough to just have invisibility when you come in, you also have to be safe when you're leaving. So we already picked up this obelisk. Now we've got to go to Tatalia, which I do have a beacon too. I'm gonna go there just because I don't want to lose my buffs, but in case I didn't want to use, or in case I didn't have a beacon, if I wanted to go there by foot, you can get to Tatalia by going west from Erathia, and Erathia is a town portal destination. So in Tatalia, we're searching for obelisk number let me pull up my list again. Obelisk number 12, which is gonna be in the northwest, around this area. Around that area, I would assume. So let's go there. Let's fly a little bit higher so we are level with this higher altitude terrain. Let these guys fight amongst themselves. We don't really care too much. We just want to fly here, and I guess we can start. Do we want to descend, or do we want to stay up? We want to descend because, as it turns out, the obelisk is down here. This is obelisk number 12, Larua. Obelisk number 12, Larua. Okay. Now we have only 2 obelisks left. Obelisk number 13 is in Avli. I do also have a beacon in Avli, but if you didn't have a beacon, what you would do is, to get to Avli, just head north from the Tolarian Forest, and you can town portal to the Tolarian Forest. But I'm gonna use my beacon because I don't want to lose my buffs. I'm also gonna cast Protection from Magic. Not that I expect anything with Finger of Death to show up, although the wyverns in this area can do that, although I don't think they're going to be close to us. So here we see the obelisk, we also see some water elementals. I'm not going to bother with them too much. I'm just going to fly over and pick up this obelisk. Run. That was obelisk number 13. Number 13. Run. Now we have just one left to go. This last one is inside the Stone City. Now the Stone City is in the Barrow Downs, which I already told you how to get to. You can get there from Harmondale. And of course I'm going to use my beacon because I don't want to make an overland transition that kills my buffs. But yes, this is the third obelisk that is inside what the game considers to be an indoor area. And this one is in this part of the map. So you go here and like I think these are the tunnels to Nyon, and this is where you were given a quest to kill some troglodytes earlier. So the final obelisk is in that part of the map. I think you do have to use the elevator, and unfortunately it's pretty slow. But fortunately it doesn't have to go that far down. I guess while we're here we'll just give some stat points to some random party member. We do have to take a second elevator down, sadly, but this should be the last one. And I don't think there are any civilians in this part of the map, so you can be pretty safe just shooting blindly. Not that you really even need to shoot, because these are very trivial enemies. But they will get in your way because these tunnels are pretty narrow, so you might have to clear a few of them out. But once you've made your way to this part of the map, is it just me, or is this obelisk a lot shorter than the others? But I mean, like, I don't. I'm not trying to make a big deal. Like, I know size isn't everything, but it's just odd to me that this obelisk is so tiny compared to the others. Maybe it's because this is a dwarven area, so it's some sort of joke about dwarves being small, but you know what? Whatever it is, it's big. It's big enough for us. I'm not gonna make any of the obvious jokes, although I kind of already did. Let's just click on it and get. Oh no! Oh no! The final obelisk message is the D, the double D. Well, I guess it had to end this way, didn't it? But we've collected all of the obelisk messages, all 14 of them. And we've finished that part of our mission for today. For the next part of this video, I'm actually going to be going outside of the game to... I guess I've got some notes that I made which I'll show directly on OBS, and you'll understand why I've had to do that once we get to that part shortly. But before we get there, there's one thing I want to... Okay, so we found this scroll earlier in this game. The scroll on basic cryptography. And if you read it, it shows it illustrates a concept that if you have one message and you like break it up into two different things, one and putting both of them together reveals the final message. It's a way of encrypting a message, and it's also a way of decrypting it if you know what the cipher is, and so on. And it gives some examples. Just hold this thought in your mind, the fact that this scroll exists. while we get to the next section. If you haven't played this game before, then you might be surprised at what relevance this may or may not hold. If you've played this game before, then you already know the answer, but I'm asking you to hold it in mind for a specific reason, and I'll get to that in the next section. But yeah, that's gonna be all for this part. When I come back shortly, we're gonna put all the obelisk messages we've gotten together, and we're gonna see what we can do with that. Alright, so be with you again shortly. Alright guys, we're back, and as I've mentioned, we're going to be outside of the game for this section. So the reason I'm doing it this way is because I wanted a way to show you all of the obelisk notes in one page, one on top of the other. If you remember when we collected them, they were displayed in our journal, but they were across multiple pages, and it's just not very convenient flipping in between pages. There's also one very specific reason that you want them to be all on the same page, which will help you solve the actual puzzle, but I won't give away the solution just yet. But I will say that it begins by putting them all on the same page, like this. We've got them in the order that we found them. You know, I know there was a bit of a mix-up between 4 and 5. I know 7 I'd picked up earlier, but this is the order in which the game puts them in your journal. Even if you found number 13 first or whatever, it will still be listed as number 13, and they will still show up in this order. So, what to do now? Well, before I move on, and before we start looking at what the puzzle is and how to solve it, just make a note on how I've arranged them. I didn't just put them in order, I also used a mono-spaced font to array them this way. Now what a mono-spaced font does is that it means every character takes the same amount of space. So this number 1 takes the same amount of space as this O, as this dot, this period, this full stop, as this underscore. Every character takes up the same amount of space, and what that means is it's arrayed in this grid-like pattern. So words form a line this way, they form a line this way, and it not only makes things look neater, but it also helps us solve the puzzle. What we're going to do next is, we've got the numbers here, just to remind us of the order of the obelisks, but we don't really need the numbers. We're going to get rid of them. Alright, now all we're left with are the letters. Now, earlier, before I ended the last section of the video, I showed you that note on cryptography and the thing about ciphers, and like if you have a message you can break it into 2, and you've got and they appear to be gibberish unless you put them together to reveal the final message. Now if you hadn't played this game before, and especially if you hadn't played Might and Magic 6, and if you were playing this game and if you found that scroll, and then if you found the obelisks, you would be very tempted to conclude that that is what you must need to solve this puzzle. And you might think, hey, I've got this collection, maybe I need to find a cipher of these, or maybe like some of these are ciphers for each other, but like that doesn't really work, because like you still haven't been given a good rule for what to do with those. Like if that was the answer, and you might tie yourself into knots trying to find a way to make it work. Long story short, that is not how you solve this puzzle. In fact, I don't know if that cryptography thing is used at all in this game. I'm not 100% familiar with it. Maybe there was supposed to be some quest that uses it, which got pulled, but as far as I can know, it's not used. Maybe it's used in some dark side quest, because I've only done light side quests in this particular playthrough. But the main point is that that is not used to solve the Obelisk puzzle. No, you can solve the Obelisk puzzle using nothing more than the text given to you by the obelisks themselves. Now, each obelisk I picked up, I made it a point to read it out as I got it. And of course, they were gibberish, and of course, reading them out accentuates the fact that they're gibberish. And the game further leads you down that path, that potential red herring path, by giving you the obelisks one line at a time, which might tempt you into thinking of them as individual lines. But no, to make sense of it, you have to put them all together. Specifically, you have to put them all together in a way where you can read them in a certain direction. And I've said all that I can say without outright spoiling it or without outright giving away the answer. So what I will say is that if you want to solve the puzzle for yourself, if I haven't already spoiled it for you, then pause the video now, because the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna basically say what the answer is. Okay? You done? You've solved it, or you've had a crack and you've given up? Either way, I'm now going to tell you what you need to do is, after you've put them all together and after you've either put them in a monospaced font or written them down yourself in a notepad, what you need to do is read downwards. And left to right, you saw gibberish, like bohooba. But if you read up to down, suddenly words start appearing. Like pirates, 5, let's pick another line, bloom, upon, under the sand. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. We have words. Now what you need to do is put the words in order from left to right and see where that gets you. I'll show you where that gets you. I'll actually get rid of that and I'll bring this out. Actually, one thing I'll do... Okay. Yes. So this is what you get if you read it down line by line, and I've put it this way because what you end up with is basically a poem. And this is how the poem goes. Pirates 5, 1, survive, hide the gold under the sand, white flower, witching hour, bloom upon a haunted land. One note I'll make is I put these or either I put these commas themselves, or the commas were already put from the walkthrough site I copied this text from. Either way, it's a really minor point, but I don't think this block of text doesn't have the commas in it. The commas are, I guess, just an extra embellishment to help the poem flow a bit better, but either way, just know that the commas themselves aren't characters in the original set, but this is the poem you get. Pirates 5, 1 survive, hide the gold under the sand, white flower, witching hour, bloom upon a haunted land. And so you solve the obelisk in the same way as you solved the obelisk puzzle in Might and Magic 6, is that you got all the obelisk messages together, put them in order, read down the line instead of across, and it gives you a message, and that message tells you where to go. We're not quite done. It's because if you played Might and Magic 6, you'll know that the obelisk message, once you got to this point, it was pretty easy to figure out where you needed to go. But here, it's less clear. It mentions pirates, it mentions sand, it mentions a white flower, it mentions a haunted land. So it's not at all clear where you need to go. But, and honestly, I'm not sure how you're supposed to reason the answer, but I'll just straight up tell you the answer is you've got to go to Evenmorn Island. So, while I was in Evenmorn Island earlier, I didn't make a big deal of it, but I set a beacon there. I was kind of doing it casually, like, oh, you know, I don't have a beacon here, I'll set one. But the real reason I was doing it was to set a beacon so that I can go back and finish this puzzle. But yes, this poem, and maybe you or someone else, like maybe you're astute enough that you guessed exactly where to go from reading this text, but I'll be honest, I didn't. I had to, even after solving the puzzle legitimately myself, I had to look up walkthroughs when I first played the game. But yes, Evenmorn Island is where we are headed, and Evenmorn Island is where we will go once we resume inside the game itself. So alright, I will stop this part of the recording and we'll come back in the game. Alright, see you shortly. Alright, so now that we've solved the puzzle, at least in terms of decoding the obelisk messages and being able to read them, we are now back in the game. This is where we left off at the end of having found all the obelisks. And now the only thing left to do is to figure out what exactly we need to do. Now this is a tough one, and I don't blame you if you weren't able to find it yourself. I mentioned at the end of the previous section is you basically have to go to Evenmorn Island. And the reason I say it's tough is because the obelisk poem didn't really give you a lot of information at all about where you need to go. It mentions pirates, 5 pirates, 1 survives. It mentions a haunted land, it mentions a white flower. That's pretty vague. Like, in fact, if you didn't already know the solution, and if you were considering what place in this game might be a haunted land, wouldn't you naturally think of Deja, which is, you know, canonically the home of the necromancers? You go there, it's full of zombies. In various dungeons you'll find, you know, wights and liches and all kinds of undead creatures. That seems to me the obvious answer for what would be a haunted land, but in this instance, you're not going there, you're actually going to Evenmorn Island. And this is actually why I set that beacon here, so that I could go back here without losing my buffs. Now over here, in Evenmorn Island, you are actually supposed to go to this island, to the west. And it's got this circle of stones on it, and it's got the altar which gave us some permanent stat boosts when we interacted with it earlier in this game. But yes, you got this circle of stones, and this is where we need to go to finish this quest. Now the only part of the obelisk poem that I think you can actually figure out through your own, or that's easy to figure out using your own logic, is it mentions the witching hour, which is of course midnight. So we're gonna stay here. I cast Hour of Power just to make sure that haste doesn't run out too quickly. So we need to sit here and we need to wait until midnight. So let's wait 1 more hour, 5 more minutes, and it should work as long as it's between 12 a.m. and 1 p.m. And when it's... And by the way, I should make an important note. This will only appear after you've found all of the obelisks. This will only appear after you've found all of the obelisks. Don't mind this extra save. I made the save because there was a problem in my attempted recording, so I deleted the recording, went back to the save. So I'm gonna save over here, and let me load a save from earlier in the game. Now this is when we'd only picked up 7 of the obelisks. So let's go to Raphia, because I need to impress upon you that you cannot get it until you've picked up all the obelisks. And if you don't believe me, if you think I'm lying to you for some reason, I just want to show you that you can't. It's important for you to not be under any sort of misconception about this one issue. So let's fly back to where we need to go, which is just to the southwest. And while we're there, let's cast Hour of Power, which is going to help us shoot stuff really fast. Let's kill some people again so that nobody's bothering us while we're resting. Okay. I don't know who's trying to be funny, but somebody is preventing us from resting. It's these jokers. Okay, now they're all dead. Now we can wait. And once again, midnight. And lo and behold, same place, nothing there, right? Very important for you to realize nothing will be there until you've gotten all of the obelisks. So with that important lesson drilled into your mind, let us now go back, having done it properly. We got all the obelisks, then we came here between midnight and 1 a.m., then this thing appeared, and if you click on this thing, you get your reward. And in our case, what we get?
That's it?
Pretty mediocre bow.
Let's leave it behind.
Pretty mediocre gauntlets. Some trivial piles of gold. Some pretty irrelevant alchemy ingredients. I guess I'll pick up the ore, even though I've never used any of the ore that I found. Well, I'll pick it up. I think that Stalt laced ore is the highest tier. The main reward you get is these 2 items. The Lady's Escort, a ring, Hero's Belt, a belt. So this boosts Arms Master, I'll give it to you. This, well, we've only got 2 female characters to choose from, I'll give it to you because I think you have fewer rings in total. So let's see what these items do. Well, this one boosts our Arms Master and gives us might and I guess HP regen. But to see the Arms Master in action, we have to give you something that is actually using the Arms Master skill, such as that sword. And indeed, we can confirm that with the belt, we get more damage, and we can see even further confirmation by right-clicking on our Arms Master skill to see that we're getting a bonus of 15. 5 of those bonus points coming from the Hero's Belt, the other 10 coming from the artifact Obelisks. Very nice indeed. But you can hold on to your pistol for now. And I guess you can sell this belt, we don't need it anymore. And the Ladies Escort, the ring, it does a few things. It gives water walking and feather falling as constant buffs. That's largely irrelevant to us because for the most part we constantly have Day of Protection on us, which among other things gives us not water walk, but it does give us feather falling. It doesn't give us water walk? I guess... Yeah, I guess you've got to cast water walk manually and its icon appears here rather than there. But that's okay. I mean, water walk is a non-issue after you have flight. But yes, those are the two buffs, like those spell buffs that it gives. It also has off protection, which basically raises all your resistances by 10. Now at this point it's not really making that much of a difference, but that's because our resistances are so high due to our very high level Day of Protection spell. The reason it's high is it's because our light magic is high to begin with, and we've got our gear giving us extra bonuses. But you know what? Despite the fact that it's not doing that much for us, it's a very decent item. Just bear in mind that it's got a restriction on it that only female characters can use it. Similarly, this item, the Hero's Belt, has a restriction in that only males can use it. Now you might think it's weird that a belt or that a ring is somehow able to tell, I guess, what kind of chromosomes its wearer has. I don't know how else it would be able to distinguish male from female, but you know what, I guess there are just certain things that you just have to accept if you're playing fantasy games or, you know, reading a fantasy novel. This is just how this game works. Somehow items are able to tell the sex of the wielder. So yeah, that's it for our rewards, and I think that's gonna be... I'm trying to think if trying to remember if I missed anything, but no, I think I've covered everything. Like, we started off by getting all the obelisks, then we put the obelisk messages together and solved the riddle, and then we brought the answer to the riddle into the game and went to the place where we needed to go to get our reward. The only thing I'll close with is don't feel too bad if you had to look up the solution. And, you know, I'm being completely transparent here. I could pretend like I solved it myself, but the poem that you get after you decode the obelisk messages is very vague, and it is not at all obvious that it is referring to this particular spot in Evenmon Island. Like I mentioned, the more obvious answer would have been Deja, and when I first played the game, I was convinced that it had to be Deja, and I spent hours and hours looking at every single spot on the map, every single random thing on the ground, like maybe there's some white flower in some corner of the map that I'm missing, and I just never found it, and in the end I gave up. I looked it up, and I was like, oh, well, I don't mind looking it up because I would have never found it on my own. So, yeah, don't feel too bad. This is a very obscure one. In fact, the only way I think I could have possibly solved it on my own is if while in Evenmorn Island I noticed this circle and then remembered that circle, and then after doing all the side quests realized that the circle wasn't used, and then came back and thought, okay, this circle never came up during the game, maybe it was used, maybe it's used in the Obelisk Puzzle, and then checked it out there. But even then, there's a problem with that approach, is that this game has branching pathways. Excuse me, just need to have a drink of water, my throat's a bit dry. So this game has branching pathways, good and evil, light and dark. In this case we chose light side. You could have also chosen dark side. And the problem is that they have unique quests, in particular the promotion quests, where the light side quests are not available to the dark side. So even if I noticed that these stones were never used, like even if I first of all noticed the stones and then remembered them, and then at the end of the game was somehow, like my mind was agile enough to then say, hey, that one thing was never used. Even if all of that happened, which is already a tall order for someone like me, I would have then probably just assumed like, oh, we went light side, this is probably just used in a dark side quest. And even going through all of that, which is tough enough to begin with, I probably still wouldn't have come to the conclusion that this is what you need to do to solve the Obelisk quest. All of that is to say, it's a really tough one, really obscure riddle, and if you solved it yourself, really, really well done to you. But if you didn't, if you had to get some extra help, no shame at all in that, and don't feel bad about it. But yes, that is the final thing I'll say, is don't be too hard on yourself, because this was a very difficult puzzle. Probably, if I'm being honest, I would say unfairly obscure. Like, it's a little bit beyond the point of reason to expect players to conclude that it's this spot specifically. But you know what? It's okay. That's what walkthroughs are for. So yes, that is going to be all for this video. And if all you were here for was the obelisks, then that's okay. I thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. But if you were following the series as a whole, you'll remember at the start of this video I said that this is probably going to be the second last video in the series. Now that is because next episode, unless I can think of some important thing that I missed, and I don't think I've missed anything, but unless I can think of something to do which justifies being in a whole video by itself, unless that happens, next video we are gonna end the game. We are gonna go west of Avli, we're gonna go into the sea, we're gonna find the Lincoln, the crash site for this spaceship, and we're gonna find the oscillation overthruster. We're gonna bring it back to Resurrectra. We're gonna beat the game. So yes, if you've been following the series along, I do hope you'll join me for the next episode, because it is gonna be our grand finale. So yes, that is gonna be all for this one. Hope to see you for our big finish. And until then, my friends, take care.